Okay, so Dr. Alex Karp came out white hot at the Reagan National Defense Forum today, and it just kept getting better and better. Every time he spoke was a mic drop moment. Yes, people all around the world dropping their mics in horror that
Yeah.
somebody could get the entire history of America this wrong. Alex Karp is one of the most important people in the entire world. Well, that is true, but not for any good reason at all. All right, so let's
Yeah,
hear
when
his.
one of the most important people in the entire world is someone almost no one knows anything about, that's a sign that that's not a good thing.
Well, the simps do. The
Yeah.
simps do. And what really comes up here is very much like Mark Andreessen. He tries to tie policy prescriptions and objectives that are very good to for defense contractors, for financiers, for people who really don't want any oversight. Now, he's really trying to make a MAGA pitch for the deep state. Um, how will MAGA push back against people like this? We'll see. But I hope this segment enlightens people about who these folks really are and why they want to call everything woke that might restrain their profits.
Americans are the most loving, God-fearing, fair, least discriminatory people on the planet. And they want to know that if you're waking up and thinking about harming American citizens, or if American citizens are taken hostage and kept in dungeons, or if you're a foreign power sending fentanyl to poison our people, something really bad is going to happen to you and your friends and your cousins and your bank account and your mistress and whoever was involved. And, you know, when Americans are spending $1 trillion on defense, what I want and what I think my peers want is, why are these people keeping our citizens hostage, torturing our people, attacking our allies, maligning us in what was once called the United Nations, basically a discriminatory institution against anything good? We need to stand up, and those people need to be scared. And that's why this conference is so important, because we have the best products in the world, and we cannot have parity. Our adversaries do not have our moral compunction. If it's even, they will take advantage of our niceness, kindness, our desire to be at home in Nebraska or New Hampshire or wherever we live in our peaceful environments. And they need to wake up scared and go to bed scared. And if you give that to the American people will go back and say, and honestly, probably shouldn't say this is why I thought the Democrats were going to lose the election, why they did, because people want to live in peace. They want to go home. They do not want to hear your woke pagan ideology. They want to know they're safe. And safe means that the other person is scared. That's how you make someone safe. And the average American person understands this. Unfortunately, many of the intellectually captured institutions, funneled and intellectually owned by the Berkeley faculty, do not. And that's what they want. It's sure as hell what I want. And that's what Palantir and all the people in this room, I hope, we're here to serve the American people. And my version of service is the soldiers are happier, the enemies are scared, and Americans go back to enjoying the fact that we're the only one with a real tech scene in this country, and we're going to win everything. That's how I see it.
You know, as Reagan said, peace through terror. That was his main slogan, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. That is like 7 layers of crazy stacked on top of another 14.
Yeah.
That was just a remarkable monologue. Now, on the one hand, you can really see how so much of MAGA, so much of the quote unquote alt-right is really not very alt. This is really standard boilerplate, attack the eggheads and intellectuals and academics in order to justify warmongering and savagery, and the idea that trying to sell the idea that we just want peace here in America, but those people out there, the not white ones, they're crazy. Those people are crazy. We have no choice but to flex this military muscle. The idea that someone would say, as we will see, that the problem in the world is that people have not been terrorized enough by the American military, and they're not going to bed scared of what crazy shit they might wake up to that the United States decided to do by fiat, having a military that is magnitudes of order larger than anybody else's so that nobody can really feasibly stop us. The idea that the world needs to be more scared of us than they already are.
Those Iraqis, those Syrians.
Those Cambodians.
Those Cambodians, those Palestinians, they are just taking advantage of our niceness.
Yep, they really are. All right, so he is the CEO and one of the founders of Palantir. So who is Palantir? Palantir Technologies builds and deploys software platforms for the intelligence community to assist in counterterrorism investigations and operations in the United States, the United Kingdom, and internationally. Okay, so they're deep state spooks. That's what this corporation is. They're deep state spooks. Now, the people among MAGA who are, have a broader, more geopolitical perspective. Now, last I heard, they're very against the deep state. The same people who are very anti-woke, as he's playing on here with his your woke paganism. So it's woke paganism to be against the deep state. You see, this is how they're going to try to manipulate that movement into supporting what they're ostensibly supposed to be against. And I will say, if you look at a lot of the feedback on that tweet, unlike the libs, some people have pointed this out and I agree, the libs will just swallow anything. They are really the Orwellian. Yesterday we were at war with Oceania. Today we're at war with East Asia, and they will just swallow it. Right. MAGA is not so easy to do that with. We saw the pushback that they got about Luigi, where Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh were trying to spin it, and they were getting a lot of pushback from MAGA. This did get a lot of pushback, I will say, but not from everybody. All right, so this is a deep state company that assists spooks in using AI to target people, and sometimes the military to literally target people. If you look at who founded it, right at the top there, someone you probably heard of, Mr. Peter Thiel, somebody who also likes to speak out against wokeness. But there's one kind of wokeness that Peter Thiel never really speaks out about, and that's Zionist wokeness, the idea of Jews as a special protected category, or I should say Zionists. But we'll get to that. All right, so why would Alex Karp want to gin up this very muscular foreign policy, this very deep state-oriented foreign policy, and brand it as woke? Well, Palantir wins a $100 million U.S. contract for AI targeting tech. And that's not all. Maven's smart system draws on U.S. intelligence data and uses computer vision algorithms and AI-enabled software from other companies to help make sense of a situation and to find adversaries. The U.S. military has used this system to help identify targets for airstrikes in the Middle East this year, Bloomberg has reported. Shannon Clark, head of defense growth at Palantir, said the contract would extend access to Maven's smart system to all 5 U.S. military services, the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and Space Force, expanding the platform to tens of thousands more service members. It's like nobody saw Terminator.
Yeah.
Selected units in specific locations so far have had access to the system, she said. Palantir in May won a $480 million contract. So this $100 million is on top of the $480 million to extend Maven's smart system to combatant commands, which run military operations in specific locations. Maven, which relies on multiple contractors and AI providers alongside Palantir, started as a project in 2017 and is now a program of record mostly run by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. The Defense Department has released little information about how Maven is used operationally. Bloomberg has reported the U.S. has relied on it to offer targeting support to Ukraine, as well as for American operations in Yemen, Iraq, and Sudan. U.S. defense officials have defended the department's use of computer vision and other machine learning algorithms to inform such targeting decisions, arguing that it ultimately falls to humans to make decisions about battlefield actions. Some experts argue the system could encourage human operators to give undue trust to such machines, however. An advisory body convened by the United Nations on Thursday called on countries to limit military use of AI to prevent human rights violations and a possible new arms race. Now, you might remember a few months ago, there was a kind of mini scandal that made the front pages that they were using AI to target Palestinians in Gaza. So somebody confronted Peter Thiel about this. Now, this is other money that they get from their defense contracting. User-centered machine learning, a $99.2 million contract with the U.S. Army for research and development on UCML. The contract is expected to be completed by September 12, 2029. And U.S. Special Operations Command, a $36.8 million contract to serve as the lead software integrator to USSOCOM's Mission Command System. The contract includes pilot projects to implement Palantir's AI capabilities. So a young lady confronted Peter Thiel about the Israeli army's use of their AI for targeting. And, on top of the fact that his company literally has hundreds of millions of dollars at stake in continuing these programs, boy, did he panic when he got asked this question.
So what do you think about the use of artificial intelligence, or lavender, by the IDF in identifying Hamas targets? And secondly, do you agree with Elon Musk about that the population decline is a risk for humanity?
Look, I'm not, without going into all the I'm not on top of all the details of what's going on in Israel, because my bias is to defer to Israel. It's not for us to second guess everything, and I believe that broadly the IDF gets to decide what it wants to do, and that they're broadly in the right, and that's sort of the perspective I come back to. And if I fall into the trap of arguing you on every detailed point, I would actually be conceding the broader issue that the Middle East should be micromanaged from Cambridge, and I think that's just simply absurd. And so I'm not going to concede that point. And what was the other?
I love how he says, and what was your other question? I love how he chose to answer the hard one, even though he was so nervous about answering it. She asked him too. He could have gone for the second one first and then be like, oh, sorry, I only have time for that one.
That was spoken like a man who has every reason to believe the Mossad has a vault full of compromise on him that they're going to release at the moment he gets a little disobedient. So let's talk about his claim on the face of it that the problem is we haven't terrorized the world enough. Global victims of U.S. military aggression. The most severe of the U.S.'s acts of aggression have resulted in some 13 to 23 million deaths in at least 28 nations. Direct U.S. military actions in at least 16 countries have caused around 7 to 13 million deaths. U.S. supported or instigated armed conflicts in 19 countries have led to some 6 to 10 million deaths. There are countries where the U.S. has engaged both directly in combat and indirectly through active military support. These figures still do not include casualties from all the governments the U.S. has supported militarily in their domestic conflicts against supposed insurgents and other political opposition. Many tens of thousands more have been killed by client states with U.S. support and using U.S.-funded and supplied war material, such as in the Philippines. These extensive casualties underscore the high human cost of the U.S.'s militarist strategy for maintaining its global hegemony. ensuring the political subservience of governments to conform with U.S. geopolitical objectives, and ensuring access to countries' economic and natural resources are essential to do this. Understand, this is why I keep saying Trump's victory is not the storming of the Bastille. It's not for you. This has nothing to do with you. It's not going to do anything for you. This is about one group of hegemons who are profiting greatly from the U.S. foreign policy being described here, from equipping it, from funding it, from benefiting from the stolen resources, and another faction within that same system that wants to take over and profit from the same system. That's why when you see these guys talk about what they want to do, they don't talk about a more peaceful world. They talk about a less peaceful world. The problem is we're not being hard enough on the rest of the world.
Yeah, this is basically like the Upper East Side versus the Upper West Side.
That's it. Right.
Right. There's nothing in it for Brooklyn.
No. As it is, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute reports U.S. military spending of $916 billion in 2023 to be the largest in the world. This is over triple the next biggest spender, China's $296 billion, and more than that of the following 20 countries combined: Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, Germany, Ukraine, France, Japan, South Korea, Italy, Australia, Poland, Israel, Canada, Spain, Brazil, Algeria, Netherlands, Taiwan, and Turkey. Wow, Russia, that existential threat to our well-being, is not even in third place. It's lumped in with the 20 countries that combined don't equal our military spending. All right, so this is an interesting graphic they did here. Victims of U.S. military aggression since 1946, 23.2 million people. Let's see some of the countries that have most benefited from our gracious visitations in their fair lands. Vietnam, of course, 5.1 million. Korea, 4.5 million. The Congo, didn't realize that, 1967, 3.3 million. Iraq, you'd expect that, 3.1 million. Indonesia, 3 million. Yeah, Keaton, I think the problem is we have not terrorized the world enough.
Yeah,
the world is not going to sleep. Yeah, they're getting too comfortable. They're getting cocky.
Yeah.
Every day without fear of an American bomb is another day that they might choose an alternative currency. So here's an infographic from Al Jazeera of U.S. military bases around the world. Why did these people put their country so close to our military bases? Look at all of these bases. Oh, I wonder why China gets so nervous about our intentions. What with South Korea having 73 bases, Japan having 120, Australia having 7, and their own bases basically function as ours in the end. Look, we've got China surrounded. So here is an overall breakdown. Now, I've seen different numbers on this, but they all land around between this. 780 is the highest estimate I've seen. But approximately the U.S. has 742 military bases in 82 countries and territories. Okay, so God, man, I mean, China, Russia, these countries are such a threat to us. So we have 742 military bases overseas. How many do they have? Oh, Russia has 52. In 12 countries. Wait, what are we in? 82 countries?
Wow, look at that.
They're in 12 countries? Huh. Look at us. Look at them. How about China? China, our new arch nemesis. Oh, they only have 29 military bases in 3 countries.
Wow.
Do you understand how propagandized we are that we're told that these are the countries that are warmongering?
Right, that are threatening world peace.
These are the countries that are threatening world peace? 742, 52. 29. So one person who really liked this, the guy who's coming to save everybody, the guy who's coming to bring sense back to government, Elon Musk, with his very typical one-word retweet. Based. Based. He thinks it's really, really based. So why do you think Elon thinks this absolutely deranged ahistorical monologue was based? Now you're starting to get the picture? They want you getting very, very, very angry about who's going to pee where on Capitol Hill. So while you're looking there, this is what they're doing. So Tesla, that's chump change, 352,000 in contracts with the government. SpaceX, though, wow, that's a lot of money. Now 15.4 billion. Now you're talking about real money, 3.6 billion of which comes from Department of Defense. That is real money there. Now in services that they provide, they don't break down defense versus NASA here, but SpaceX gets another $2.2 billion in services split between NASA and defense. Tesla also gets some of that money. Now, there were your simps who reacted to this predictably. In Washington and much of the Western world, everything in foreign policy is supposed to be a proportionate response. That is 100% not correct. A crushing, embarrassing defeat is needed. Yeah, we have not crushed and pulverized the world, both directly and through our proxies. That's the problem. They just haven't gotten the message yet that we're prepared to commit wholesale slaughter on an unimaginable scale at the slightest provocation. The world has not gotten the message.
Well, the amazing thing about this is that, like, while, yes, we have racked up a lot of corpses underneath our army boots, we have not won a strategic victory anywhere in a very long time. And these people read this as, well, that's because we're being too soft.
We're being too soft.
Could be for no other reason.
It's not that we're being too stupid.
Right.
A great president is feared by our enemies, respected by our friends. That is Trump. That is why all over the world our enemies are trying to cozy up to Trump or simply shut up and pretend they are invisible. Yeah, I mean, they were pretty much doing that before. It doesn't matter who the president is. They know that America may do some crazy shit on any given day. America needs to leave the UN and NATO. Finally, someone understands that 1, fear is the only language some cultures understand. 2, not all cultures share the same system of values as the West does. Only took 80 years.
I take it that guy was not at the women's bathroom protest. I'm going to guess.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Trump army, drain the swamp. Yeah, that's what he's doing. That is exactly what he's doing, bringing in all these ghouls who not only are not at odds with the deep state, that are making them more powerful with AI, that are backing them up with new AI systems. Yeah, MAGA. But hey, to be fair, like I said, a lot of people did push back. So this is one. This guy, Mr. World War III, and here's a headline. The U.S. will very likely fight a 3-front war against Russia, China, and Iran, Palantir's Alex Karp says. Well, if he has anything to say about it, I'm sure we will, and that is what is so dangerous about elevating and empowering people like this. And this is why I keep talking about this, because, you know, we kid our friends in the MAGA movement, but hey, man, it's up to you. In my experience, they're more likely to push back on their leaders than the libs ever were. Look at who these people are. Look at how they're trying to look at what they did with the CEO, where they turn around, they want to call everything woke to get you to back a corporate deep state agenda. These people are not fighting the deep state. They just want to control the deep state. They just want the deep state to serve them.
Right,
they're just from another wing of the,
right.
Yeah, they want to streamline it. They want to make it more efficient, and they want to make sure that they don't get investigated.
Right.
They want to send them out. They want to politicize it. That's why the Kash Patel thing, I'm like, listen to what he's saying. It's not that he doesn't want a deep state. He wants to weaponize the deep state in the other direction.
Right, right. And, you know, Tusker put this pretty well, you know, when she talked to us about this. I think it was on the air. She said, you know, the reason why at the end of the day Trump is allowed back in and he's allowed to win, and at the end of the day, the reason why he's not the threat to the deep state that people say he is because he enforces the idea of the United States as the entitled hegemonic power, right? We have our boot on the neck of the rest of the world, and we should. It's good that way. We want to keep it that way. Now, his rationale for it is a bit different from the Obama rationale, from the, sort of consensus, which is what the Democrats have been actually saying through the 2016 campaign and even over the past 8 years. We are great because we are good. America is great because it's good, right? Mm-hmm. The reason we're a great power is because we're good. It's our goodness. It's our virtue that generates the popular will that then propagates throughout the world. And of course, we are the most powerful. We rose to the top through a sort of global merit-based system, and our system is the best. So why wouldn't we be at the top?
Right.
Trump's rationale for this is more, well, we're the best because we have the biggest military and our economy is the strongest, and so we just get to push other countries around. I mean, it's a different rationale, and that is kind of offensive to the consensus because politically it's a lot more palatable to convince people that, no, the reason why we are so scummy is actually because we're so great, right? Whereas Trump just kind of articulates things in a much more matter-of-fact way. I would argue actually a much more honest way.
It's in a much more honest way, but
it's the same shit. Trump is not going Trump is not going to usher in a multipolar world any faster than Joe Biden would. I don't think.
Well,
Joe Biden might do it by accident.
there is that philosophical and intellectual underpinning, though, and that's what people like Brett Weinstein are doing for the MAGA movement. They go out there and they try to give it this veneer of the virtue of Western civilization versus the barbarians in this newfangled podcast kind of a way. But it's the same old Western chauvinism dressed up as being edgy and punk.
Right. And those arguments are strengthened and bolstered by the kernel of truth, the very large kernel of truth, I'd argue. I think we'd all argue, which is that the Democratic Party and the sort of liberal order has a very illiberal streak running through it, especially as technology increases. A lot of these liberal ideals that the liberal order likes to tout, these are ideals they don't really believe in at the end of the day.
Neither
like
do they,
freedom of speech,
as we've seen since October 7th.
Of course. But, you like a Rescue the Republic rally is made possible by the fact that, yes, liberals have overstepped and shown their ass.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But then the other side of this is what we just saw here. The other side of this is not an alternative that I can really embrace in good conscience and tell other people to as well. That's why it can be a lonely place, but we're stubborn bastards. Like, this is why throughout the campaign, this is why we couldn't wait for the campaign season to end, because we're having this question imposed upon us, well, who do you pick? And our answer was emphatically neither, because it's the only position that makes sense. Now, if that's not clear enough in terms of, okay, where do we want to go? Look, I'm sorry. I believe in the David Mamet's approach to acting was invent nothing, deny nothing. Don't make up something that's not there, and don't deny what is there. That's it. That's my attitude towards this. Invent nothing, deny nothing. See what you see, call it as you see it. That's it. If that leads you to a place of uncertainty, then so be it. That's where you are.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
What's wrong? Well, people are uncomfortable with uncertainty.
Right.
That's why if you look at all of the biggest performing films of all time, biggest box office, they're all very simplistic good versus evil stories, where it's very clear who what's the animated thing, the James Cameron thing, Avatar,
yeah.
It's Avatar, it's Star Wars, it's these very, very simple good versus evil thing. And we see that in our politics. People are very uncomfortable with moral ambiguity. They're very uncomfortable with the idea that everyone's bad. So they have to get very invested in one side or another. What's I think has been interesting since these guys came to power is they're feeling themselves now. So they're really making it explicit and transparent who they serve. But you're seeing more and more of these kind of intellectual dark webby kind of aligned people taking the mask off and being like, yeah, well, they're going to investigate me for fraud. That's woke.
Right,
yeah,
right,
they're gonna stop us from bombing countries, which is ostensibly what a lot of people supported MAGA for. Yeah, that's woke.
Right.
And yeah, I think that is going to start to peel away a lot of the more independently minded MAGA, of which there is a larger portion than there ever was in the liberal coalition, who are going to turn around and say, what the fuck?
Right, exactly. If you want hope, there's that new movie Union, which we did for the film club night, about the Amazon Union Drive in New York. And there's a scene in that movie where it's a cold night and there's a windstorm, and it's blowing away the tent that they use to cook the food and have their meetings at night, and they use to enroll people. It's blowing the tent away, and there's this guy holding it together in the freezing cold with his bare hands, just standing there for however long it takes to keep the tent from blowing away in the cold. You want hope? That guy is who gives me hope. That's who gives me hope. Not these fucking snakes. So yeah, you want somebody to look toward that guy. Watch that movie in that scene when he's standing out in the freezing cold holding that tent from blowing away so they can keep at their Union Drive. That is a guy you could invest some hope in.
Well, that's where you're really getting into the peasant mind. You got to get away from the peasant mind. You got to start to admire your own peers.
Right.
Instead of looking to ghouls like this as your heroes. They're not your heroes. They're your enemies.
Please clap.